the allotment. We're here today to not just dwell on the fact that this sweet corn has grown on a foot in a week and a half. Last time we were here it was just about knee high. Now it's definitely up to the middle of my chest, almost my chin. So this has been a definite success so far. And let's hope that continues. But we have had some failures, some unexpected failures and some more predictable ones, which I'd like to talk about in this episode right now. These tomatoes don't look too bad. I grant you that some people are already harvesting ripe tomatoes. April was quite warm in the daytime but very cold at night, so I hesitated and I didn't plant my seeds anywhere like early enough. However, these ones I've planted in this polytunnel in pots. I've added some fertiliser, some 20-10-10, that's 20% nitrogen and 10% phosphorus and potassium each. And the nitrogen has given them a little bit of a boost, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, and a big fingers crossed, I'm hoping that they'll produce fruit this year. At the moment they look okay. On the other hand, these guys here were planted, seeded in the same tray and the same time, and they're exactly the same variety. The only difference with these is that they were left in the seed tray probably another week or so longer than those in the polytunnel. Because this was the bed that had the cabbages in. So I amended this bed with the same kind of 20-10-10 fertiliser, and I planted these guys out. Obviously it was very warm today, but it hasn't been quite so warm for these fellas, and they've really struggled. And I doubt very much that these are going to make it to I doubt very much these are going to make it to any sort of fruit. And I'll show you why now. It's not just because they were late and then sort of slightly mistreated. The damp weather we had, it's a hot spell now as I say, the damp weather we had before, the damp, moist, warm weather has caused us big problems on the allotment. We've got blight. We've got both late blight and early blight. This, I believe, is early blight on my potatoes. Early blight manifests itself in these patches on the leaves. It weakens the plant and decreases yields. There's not an awful lot you can do about it. You can treat, I think, with liquid copper, but I've never done it. And I very, very seldom see early blight on this allotment. Okay, so forgive my pronunciation, but Alternaria solani, caption below probably, is a fungal disease. An awful lot of trains again here. It's a fungal disease which is in the soil, and it's all around, and it spreads through the air. The leaves get wet, and on humid, damp, in humid, damp conditions, it can infect your plants. The plants of the Solanaceae family, your tomatoes, potatoes, aubergines, things like that. It doesn't always affect, I don't think it always affects the potatoes in this case, but it does affect yields. So whether our potato experiment, as you know, we're doing a potato experiment here to see if growing mediums and nutrients make a big difference to the yield. That's going to be slightly scuppered by getting early blight. So what I'm going to do is try and just stem it really. It's everywhere, it's all over the allotments here. My neighbour Pauline's got it, Peter's got it, I think James has got it everywhere. It's everywhere. It's just because of that damp, sort of mild, humidity weather we had in for the last couple of weeks before this hot spell. The bigger problem is late blight, and I'll show you. Pauline said I can go over and show you late blight on her tomatoes, caused by exactly the same thing. It's another fungus that comes up from the ground when water splashes around. So rain, humid weather, it's not a good thing for tomatoes and potatoes. So we'll go over and we'll have a look at Pauline's late blight, and really I think that is what's going to kill my slightly mistreated, but lacking TLC, my tomatoes outdoors here. There's a possibility, a slim possibility, that the tomatoes in the polytunnel will escape because they're not subject to the same amount of splashing up from the earth, and you know they're in compost and stuff, not garden soil. So that is why that's a big cross fingers there. Yeah, so let's go and have a look at Pauline's plants. Okay, so this is Pauline's plot. It's a very nice plot, but unfortunately, like the rest of us, tomato plants have succumbed to blight. In this case, late blight, which I won't even embarrass myself by trying to pronounce the Latin. I should put a caption underneath. Late blight spreads in exactly the same way as early blight, from the soil as a fungus pathogen, and it manifests itself particularly noticeably by these stem lesions, and it very soon spreads over the whole plant and kills it stone dead. And the big problem with late blight is it's far more devastating to the crop. It will infect the potato tubers on the, remember tomatoes and potatoes are the same family, Solanaceae. On potatoes it will go all the way through the plant and infect the tubers, and in tomatoes, as you can see, it kills the whole plant and obviously the tomatoes on it, if there are any on it. But we've got it so early, unfortunately we've got it so early this year that we haven't even had a chance, well, we've barely had a chance to get flowers, let alone tomatoes. So I think that pretty much covers early and late blight. I say late blight, I've never seen late blight this early, if that makes sense. We very seldom get too bothered with early blight, but we've got them both at the same time now. So anyway, let's not end on a negative. Some things are doing very well. These Cornichon de Paris cucumbers, the pickling cucumber, are starting to pick up as well. They're enjoying the warmer weather. A bit of rain we had last night. I would just like to show though a couple of things that I meant to catch up with. I suppose so much of gardening is reliant on the weather and everything else. But there's also a lot of planning involved and nurture over nature. So just want to show you quickly the parsnips that we planted the other day, and some more things in the polytunnel compared to things growing outdoors. You may or may not remember that a few months ago I planted 2 rows alongside my cabbages of parsnips. The idea being I want to see if old seeds were as unreliable as everyone would have us believe. So they're quite big now, these parsnips, but you can see on the left are so on the left here you can see a row of old seeds with some fairly hefty gaps in between, and on the right we can see a row of fresh seeds where everything seems to have germinated. So there we go. I think that's fairly conclusive proof that as far as nature's concerned, old parsnip seeds don't remain viable. A lesson learnt. This little fella here is the only remaining outdoor watermelon. It says on the seed packet, rather optimistically, that you can grow it outside. Not something that I really believed. I didn't believe in too much. So that's why I planted 3 of them in my polytunnel. This one was planted out weeks ago. In fact, it was planted out the same day that I planted out the one in the polytunnel. So let's go and look at the difference. Nurture over nature. So the same variety, the same date of planting, of sowing the seeds, and the same date of planting out. These are a couple of melon plants which I've planted in a pot in the polytunnel. As you can see, we've got some flowers coming. So the cucurbit family have a strategy for optimum use of their energy. They produce a lot of male flowers first to attract pollinators in, and then they produce female flowers. So all the flowers you see in this frame are male flowers at the moment. You can tell the difference because they do not have a swollen ovary at the rear here. We'll find a female flower to show you in a second. Not too sure because I'm not a melon expert, but I think that's about to flower as opposed to having been pollinated. Okay, well, thanks for watching this far. I didn't want to end on a negative note. I didn't want this video to be entirely negative. Yeah, sure, we've got late and early blight. Our tomatoes are going to be devastated. Our potatoes aren't going to give such great yields, maybe. But on a positive note, the sweet corn is growing faster than my hair. The melon in the polytunnel is doing very well, although I've never grown a melon in my life. And it's, you know, I'm just learning as we go along with that one. Yeah, everything else is doing okay, really. The hollyhocks look lovely, and we've got wildlife come to our wildlife pond. We have baby newts, which is wonderful. Really nice to see some amphibians coming to the pond. It's a very good sign. Anyway, so that rounds up. And this is the pond where we have the baby newts under that thick layer of algae.